Hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Benmergui. Welcome to Not That Kind of Rabbi, a show where I talk about spiritual issues with human beings from all walks of life, and something I enjoy doing very much, I have to say. I've been getting some very kind words from folks who have started listening to the podcast recently. One of the things about the podcast world is just keep a going, as they say, because eventually more people talk to other people and end up telling them that they should probably listen to it. And that's what's been happening. And I really appreciate that. My usual disclaimer, I'm not an ordained rabbi. I'm an ordained spiritual director. And there is a difference, a marked difference, I might add. Um, Lately, I've been doing some great reading. I would suggest there's a book on the Christian mystic Meister Eckhart that's written by Matthew Fox. And if you know Matthew Fox at all, he's highly interesting to listen to and to read. His world is about creation spirituality, that he was kind of kicked out of the Catholic Church by saying, we're worshiping Jesusolatry is what he called it. He said, instead, what we really need to be able to do is have an ability to do a spiritual practice. And doing that requires wonder and awe. And he's a great proponent of that. So Fox has written this lovely book where he has Eckhart from hundreds of years ago in conversation with different great spiritual leaders from different paths. One of the things I've learned in becoming a spiritual director is called deep ecumenism, just the ability to really let yourself become part of other people's traditions and understand them that way. And I think it's a really important thing to do. Whether you follow a religious path or don't follow a religious path is irrelevant to that. It's really about how do people see the world? What is it within the teachings that they have that we can learn from? Also, really enjoying an 8-week course I'm doing with Eckhart Tolle, whose original name wasn't Eckhart, but he changed it to Eckhart after reading Meister Eckhart, who influences millions of people. Anyway, Eckhart Tolle is doing a wonderful 8-week session online that I paid for to listen to, and it's great because it really is about the very simple idea of consciousness, that there's two kinds of things that you can view your life as: life situations. Oh, I've got this to do and this is really pressing on me, and Trump might win and this is going to happen, and these things become this monkey mind that never stops kind of torturing you with all the thoughts. But that all you really have in this life is the consciousness of the present moment. And that if there's life situations and there's life. Life is what's happening at this moment. Life situations are the worries about what's going to happen and what just happened and what might happen. So really, he tries to help people to understand that and to move into a space where they can actually be present. He says, if you're really in the middle of 14 thoughts at once, do something simple. Sing a song in your own head, or just spend 30 seconds looking at your cat. Just look at your cat and see how they behave and see how they do what they do. And just stay here, stay in the moment. And you realize that all these other things are mind formations that we make. And this ego idea of who we are and what we should be worried about and what do people think of us, and the fear that maybe they don't think enough of us, and all these other pieces are just projections that we make onto this crazy movie we're making at all times. So Tolle's really good on being able to make presence a thing. One of the ways of doing that in the Jewish religion is our own version of chanting. And this comes from the Eastern European tradition, not from my North African tradition, but it's called a nigun. And the nigun is, in this case, I want to play you a song, a really beautiful piece by Batya Levine, who you can look up on YouTube. She's really soulful in the best way to think of it. But she does a combination of a bit of a Jewish prayer, karov, it's called. And in it, she sings the nigun. And it circles that, and just circles that. So I'm going to play it for you, and then I'm going to introduce you to my guest, who I haven't seen in, I think it's 28 years, but it's lovely that she's going to be with me, and we'll have lots to talk about. Um, So here it is, Batya Levine on Not That Kind of Rabbi. That's Bacha Levine with Karov. I just had to play it for you this week. I know snippets work for people, but I just really felt like that's really resonated with me since I first heard it about a week ago. And I just think that in music, there's so much soulfulness in every genre and every style in every part of the world. It is, if it's done well and with authenticity and sincerity, it's church. It just gets to people. And it doesn't matter how you do it. It's really about connection. And I've been to rock concerts when I was a young guy, and there'd be all the people with their Bic lighters, and now it's phones and everybody's swaying, and you're thinking, oh, this is kind of corny. But you know what? It's church. Everybody's in it, and they're all together. I want to introduce my guest. She is a pioneer in so many different ways. She is the first Canadian to get a major record label deal for hip hop in this country. She's a female Black hip hop artist, no mean feat in a male dominated world, and one that she achieved with grace and dignity. And she's still going strong. So I just want to say hi to Michie Mee. Mish, how are you?
Ralph. Hi, boss. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Do you remember the literally the last time we saw each other? Because I do.
Well, do you tell me?
All
Because
right. So I had a TV show called Friday Night, and you were a guest, and I'd barely seen you all day because there was so much crazy on that show with all the people and the sets and the music and the blah, blah, blah. And we were just standing there behind a flat backstage. I was about to introduce you. After all the crazy, we were just standing there with each other, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Ralph," and you're like, "Hi, I'm Michie, and how are you?" Fine, okay, let's do this. And then I walk out and introduce you, and you went up, and that was that.
I was always so focused. I didn't remember that one little. I remember doing it, but I don't remember that being the last time.
Yeah, that was it. After that, I disappeared and you disappeared, and I thought, well, that was that.
Mm.
But it was fun to have you. Um, so first of all, in listening to that piece of music, was there any feeling for you about that?
Yes, because it was new. I just wanted to know what she was saying, so I was hearing how she was saying it.
So it was in
And
Hebrew,
yes,
uh, and then the other part is not in anything. It's basically Jewish scat. When she's going that's just a non-literal chanting kind of thing to just get you out of your head, right?
it worked. It worked. Yes, because it became not trying to decide what she was saying. I could tell she was chanting in her way. I could tell.
So, in what you come from, is there anything that you can relate to that way that says, we have something like that?
It to be specific to point at an artist for a song. There's several, and music is always around the instruments, so the melodies always come after the instruments, or when there is no instruments, melody comes from the heart. So it's just the beat, keeping a tempo, and between that tempo, you find several beats now, otherwise illustrated as pockets of music. So I think I know when you meditate and you kind of just breathe and listen, I make beats around the heartbeat.
Hmm.
So it comes out and I use that as the core, no matter what genre of music I'm doing. It's how it makes me move. It's reciprocating what is being given to me in terms of production and breathing it through. It's really breathing it through. And then for me, words come out. So I think everyone finds a ritual in rituals, and it always comes to listening, feeling, and delivering. So specifically in terms of a script of or a dialect of something that I could share, that there's one way, I don't believe I could tell you that, or I, could sell that. I
Right.
really think find it for yourself. And that's how I found mine. And it's really the beat of the heart. And that's my drum.
So when you say from the heart, it sounds like you're saying it in two different levels. One is from your soul, and the other one is literally the boom, 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 boom of your heart.
The actual beat. And yeah, I am saying it on two levels. You're right.
Hmm. So it's one thing to know that it'd be best to do things from your heart, from the soul of who you are. It's another thing to make sure you have a path there. That's
Right?
right. So
Yes.
so how do you get that part going?
Um, you day to day, because you don't really know what's going to happen in life. So when things come at you, you kind of build your path, if that's what you mean. I build it day to day. There's no chosen route prior to a situation or a circumstance. It's kind of like handle it and find a way that it doesn't offend anyone, meaning myself first, to release it and react to it. So paths are just kind of one step at a time. In whatever I'm doing, if I'm answering it correctly and what you
Well,
mean.
no, there's no answer. I mean, it's what you're saying is what I just said at the beginning about presence and being here in the moment. It sounds like you're saying, yeah, like tomorrow isn't a strategy. Like I'm just here right now. And if I'm going to sing something, I'm going to sing something today, not, you know, 3 days ago, I really nailed this. So I think I'll try it again.
Yeah, and you know what? That's what diaries are for, right? You write down the moment of the day to capture that moment, and if you don't have a diary, you just kind of go day to day in it. I mean, you can look back on social media now, and there's a paper trail of emotion, and you can see how others feel, how if even if it's not personal, how what they're thinking. So that could be a different path than even what they're going through. So I think every medium registers a path.
You know, that diary thing is interesting because I sometimes think, I should journal more. I should diary more. And
That's
right. But then I think to myself, what if somebody reads it? I don't want anyone to read it. So I don't do it.
don't do it either. It just sounds good. It's like you get a diary, write it down, journal. I was like, yeah, I have problems keeping up with social media. That's my diary. I think you can tell if I posted
Oh,
fucking James or James gonna come.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Social media is kind of when I was talking before about monkey mind and just thought situational life. I really am at a point now where I guess maybe it's being holed up with everybody for 9 months, but I'm just really getting tired of the noise, right?
And even if you're alone, there's noise. Even if you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's a lot of noise. You can tap into anything you tap into. First of all, there's noise, and then you kind of choose what you want to follow or pursue or listen to or carry on. And then the good thing about social media is you can change gears. You can go to comedies, you can change gears. I think if you're going to be on it, I, and then again, everyone's own person. So for me, I change gears. I don't only follow one entertainment stream. I mean, look at animals. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Change
clear,
gears. Yeah.
but it's like just change gears.
So when you were growing up, you were you were born in Kingston, right? But you moved to like I was born in Morocco, and by the time I was 2, I was in Canada.
I was going for this year. I'm
Oh, you were going
sorry.
to go to Morocco?
Yeah, we were doing Moni Love's birthday in Morocco. 5 days, everyone turned 50. So we were gonna, and then the rest of that story. Pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Well, that so I was really little when I came here. So how old were you?
I was 6 when I came from Kingston, Jamaica. I was 5 actually, going to be 6 because my birthday's in November. So I came the summer of July. And yeah, what a transition.
Yeah, but then I don't know about you, but for me, I have a
So
story about being Moroccan, but I have a reality about being grown up as a Canadian.
That's true. I went back so many times to make sure I didn't lose that authenticity that made me me, or what made my family them. And I really searched between, like, my parents divorced, and when they divorced, I was like, well, I'm going to find out about both sides. And this was before Ancestry. I always say, oh my God, I must have been a little Ancestry kid.com prior to anything, because that was how I felt. I wanted to know both sides because they were divorcing. So yeah, I always made sure I went back and found that what kind of made them, and that kind of made me, and learning why everybody wanted to be so different, or had such a to fit in wherever you migrated from, to fit in society, why it was such a head up quiet a restriction, when where you're from, it's a little bit more free. And when they people go back to where they're from, it's to be a little bit more free. So it's just that kind of authenticity that I liked about learning the contrast between how to just be. So I always went back. There's common denominators, and I watch people go on the journey of going back. That's what you do when time passes. You watch people go through the same journeys as you. So it was nice to see some who were just like, I'm here now and I'm never going back. I know nothing of it, and I don't know any family there, and they're probably just going to want things, and everybody just needs and want, and then they lose kind of what they really wanted to go back for in the first place. They get so caught up in the noise, and people that are consuming the noise, and thinking that the noise you're consuming in another part of the country, of the world, is a different noise, and just making those mediums meet. So I've always gone back, and I've always put that in. That's what's made my music not change and kind of keep me youthful. It's because the genre of music that comes from there is that reggae, and it just has no age limit. So I use that to transition into hip hop. It's like when people say you're getting older, you're still doing hip hop. I'm like, yeah, because when you get older where I'm from, you kind of still do music, and the music that I'm still doing is hip hop. I didn't grow into doing jazz. I didn't grow into doing something else. I just matured lyrically. So I think that has a big impact on who I am musically, is being able to go back and follow through with that story, coming from where I was born. Yeah, because I didn't want it to be just a story. I wanted to really realize I left from a private school in Kingston. I lived in Mona Road, and lived practically at the school while my parents worked and were going through their stuff. So when my mom decided to leave and come here, she went and then I came. So I always remember the arts. Everybody was into arts and music was the arts, and I kind of just followed through. I'm sure they wish I could stop.
So your parents divorced when you were how old?
I don't have the paperwork, but in my head, 6 or 7.
No, I didn't live through a divorce in terms of my own childhood. Um, what does that do to you?
Makes you think you have to choose, and you don't. So I beat that into me, that I didn't have to choose. And I think that's what kept me going, no matter how emotional it gets. That's what kept me going. I didn't have to choose, because I was there. Because I was loved so much by both sides, both grandparents, both sibling, cousins. Yeah, I didn't have to choose. And I was always full of energy and very animated. So I kind of cushioned everyone else's worrying about me blow. Yeah, so yeah.
Wait,
They're still
so,
them.
you're still what?
Still married in my head, and in my light.
Right.
I wouldn't say even marriage is the word, but they're still together in my head, not in a relationship together, as parents to me
Right.
together. Yeah. And
Well,
I have my dad's ashes. So.
Your dad passed
I
away?
will let him. Yes, my dad passed away, so I'm very adamant that all the children know. So I have his ashes.
And your mom's still alive?
Yeah. I'm going strong. I'm coaching and actually posting now. my Where I am now. Yes. And she would always try to answer all the questions on the show. It's quite funny. It's like she feels like she knew nothing about Canada after smart ass.
What'd your mom teach
Another
you?
story.
What did your mom teach you about life?
What didn't she teach me? What she taught me the basis, what she could and what had she had time to and what she knew. Because I think life was busy building her and she was busy living it and doing the best she could. She just taught me you always have a choice. And that came from my grandmother. Yeah, she told her, you always have a choice. So just be careful of what you choose, right? Because the rest, you always have a choice was the main thing that resonated with me.
Yeah, that's a big one because then it's on you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Blame no one.
Because you had a choice.
Choice.
I don't know. There's so much, that we sometimes when you're a parent, you tell your kids things and you think they're not listening. They're really not listening. And then eventually they say something back to you 10 years later and you're like, oh, I guess you were listening.
And it starts at every age now with all this consuming of the noise. I will hear because my son's not Jamaican, and I will hear him say things quicker at a younger age back to me than I did to my mom. Some of it came from consuming and on social media, like some other Jamaican household said it, and he's seen it on. I was like, that's what my mom's, and that kind of thing started happening. So it made him pay attention to more things I said. And I was like, see, I'm going to social media, and before that household on social media. So yeah, it kind of works to your benefits too.
So, how old were you when you had your kid?
Uh, 21, I believe I put in my bio. 20. I know, is Wikipedia listening? I was 21,
you
2021.
you were, or you told everyone you were 21?
And you know what? I was 2021.
It's the way you're saying that that's got me going, but obviously you don't want to tell me anything more than that, I guess.
2021.
Um, so that's young and it, maybe younger. But what did you learn to, because a lot of people now are 35 when they have a kid,
Yeah.
right? So you had this kid all this time while you're trying to grow up. Did it,
Yes.
so what's that like?
Wow. It's like having a little sibling that, like just like the memes say that thinks you're rich.
Mm.
And you just keep giving and giving and until they grew up and realize, oh my goodness, it's not as, there really is nothing behind that in the cupboard. And you kind of just reality check. So it was harder to mask that we were fine because we were both kind of going through it. And I was trying to be like my mom's, be like, if mom's doing it, grandma's doing it, look, I'm doing it too. So we're fine. But it was a different journey, a different struggle, a different occupation, a different chasing of my dream. It was different, but yet I still wanted to live up to the 9 to 5, the put in those hours because if you don't, nothing comes back. But yet it was a different skill. I was fueling. So it's kind of hard. I would always ask him too. I go, what does it feel like growing up with a creative mom? Like, because everyone else is so strict. I was supposed to go to law school. I was supposed to do teach. I was supposed to, register to York University for a BPhD. I was going to teach because that everyone's in the medical field. Come from RNs and head nurses and assistant head nurses, and I was like, okay, I'll do health science. I'll do teaching health. And I found my way. I did all these sports, got all these awards for look up all these awards, Best athlete. I was like, okay, one day I'm gonna teach at York and I'm gonna teach the junior Canadian team. And then of course at the track meet, you meet everyone that raps. And so my label being called Track and Field. So it kind of all makes one story, but having someone smaller than you, so close to you, live that latter part of the dream, the beginning of his life, is different. I mean, he was born in a time when I was in a rock band. I convinced him I was a rapper in a hip hop band. So he only knew Ragadeath. And then I'm like, no. I got some old school stuff before that. And then when he got to that age and recognized, wow, you like, no, I was at work. And then, yeah. So, and then I got to bring it to your set and that had a schedule. So I was at work. So it worked out. So it's kind of cool telling him and letting him see that, okay, it wasn't just karaoke and us at Wonderland in the booth making pictures and trying to be TLC. It was actually an occupation as well as something that mommy likes to do for fun. And he was my little roommate, my little BFF. So now he's my father. Obviously, he tells me whether I'm cool, when to stop, what to like, why. Why didn't you repeat my stories? And I feel the same if mother doesn't pay attention to something. So I was like, oh my God, it's Thursday. I didn't think you cared if I even looked. And yeah. And then there's that time when you're like, I wonder if you'll clean me at school. I wonder if you'll tell the teacher kids that I am Michie Mee. So we always, and if he went to school with a cousin and a sibling would say, you know, his mama's name is, like, he would, can you let me tell a story one day on my own? So I seen that kind of happen to him. Yeah, and I think he's at a level of 2 questions each about my mom, and that's it. When he's out.
2 questions.
Yeah.
I got a quota. This is all I'll do for you.
Yes,
Wow.
and no
But
one comes.
they keep you honest, right? I mean, you can say you are whatever you want to tell people you are, but your kid's looking at you your whole life, and you have to figure out, am I actually coming up with this or not?
Yeah. Then he reassures me every birthday post that I'm okay. Or that it doesn't look too bad. And I mean, he's my radar, so I don't do anything too embarrassing. Mom used to be the radar. I think my son became the radar quicker in growing up and finding myself as a woman. Yeah, your radar has changed. And he became the most, yeah, that man.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Was there
Yeah.
any, in terms of a spiritual life, you have kids, they ask you questions, right? Like, where did that hamster I just had die? Where did it go? You know? So how did you raise him in the spiritual side of who he is?
I definitely followed what I learned. I brought him at first to church, every denomination, Baptist, Moravian, Seventh-day Adventist, uh, every church, and then introduce him to Rastafarian culture just to see. Every culture is so religious. And then we grew up in Thornhill, so he went to 13 bar mitzvahs. So he came home with every prize, every scooter, every bag, every envelope, and his friend, they call him, his name is Shamar, so they call him Shammy Davis Jr. So he goes over, he's very popular in Thornhill, in his Richmond, his circle. And I'd be like, I'm moving here, and he will not leave his friends. So he has the same friends. And
It's
they've all
1 o'clock.
gone on to be very successful. And he's like the little black friend that they don't forget because he's the funniest, and he's been deemed to think he had it well off. So he's been able to hang out in the gear to make it look like there's lots behind the can and the cover. So he held it off, and then he followed through, and that made him who he is. He's a very sharp, witty man, and yeah, and his friends believe in him, he believes in his friends. So I kind of like the path he chose.
Hmm. Yeah, you worry about which way they're going to go. Does he go to church, or is he into Rastafari religion?
He's into books, so he's read everything. Like I've introduced him to. I've got the whole bunch of books there, the Quran, the Bible. He's read it. He's tattooed the Bible. I was like, you're gonna get a tattoo? Don't. He did Psalms 23. I was like, great, there we go. It's all done. So meaning I didn't want him to. So he did. I can tell that he gravitated to that because that's his only tattoo. So that's kind of who he is. and he makes his own choices. Like I said, he's been around a lot of culture, and he's like me. He's free spirited, so I don't think he's going to. But I know he believes in a higher power and in himself, and that's good enough for me. So I brought him everywhere, so he knows everything. He doesn't doubt anything.
So when I like to ask people on the program about, if I say the word God, what do you say?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you
I
say
know,
if I
right?
say the word God?
I say Jah, but I say
Mm.
God. I know, and there's some people of the culture of Rastafarian that don't say God, and it goes on for it. But I think God is a common denominator, and other than that, I just say me. How about that? Me, in me, whatever's in me is God. So if that's a better way of saying it for me, I don't. The titles, it's not what you. It's not. What is it? It's not what you believe in. It's not who you believe in. Is what you believe in. It's not what you believe in. It's who you believe in. Just believe in yourself. So I don't think that is going to make or break the core. So I just keep it light.
Hmm. That's very interesting. I like that. I mean, I worry a bit about the idea of me,
Yeah.
because
Oh no.
because that, where's the universe of 500 million galaxies? But then again, I think that I'm made up of the stardust of 500 million galaxies. So that's the me is it, and
Yeah.
it is me.
It comes back to me. So I don't think I'm the one. Like I don't have the power. It just comes back to me. So I just refer back to me when they get so clustered with titles and names and what do you believe in and why do you change your hair? What does your son do? Like it happens. It's not, you're not the first. It happens and it's asked and it's not. And it's so interesting. I always ask the kids, how do you guys answer this stuff? Because a lot of you don't go. There is no denomination that you pursue and follow. There's not a lot of gospel rap. There's not a lot of, you
Yeah.
know. So it's like, what do you guys do? I do think everyone ends up finding their own way, just like I did. My parents installed everything they could from every church, from every Baptist church, Moravian, Presbyterian, baptized Seventh Day Adventist. I was like, whatever church was closest.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's kind of where you went and closest to the beliefs. I mean, you're there for hours on a Sunday or a Saturday or sometimes a Friday night. I like Bible study a lot. So I kind of went to, I went every day. My mom has awards from Jervis Street Baptist Church where I had to memorize every verse. And that's how I knew my memory was good in songwriting. But my first awards came from Jarvis Street Baptist Church and
Hmm.
memorized all the scriptures. And anytime they was them said, well, we've heard it. And I was scripture girl out of my cousins and my so they knew I had a thirst for knowledge a long time ago. So I just kind of planted those seeds in my son and his cousins and my stepkids and god kids and kids that I would just meet that I call my stepkids. My friends' kids are all my stepkids. And I've got about 14 of them. I think I put all the parents together. So because of that, I let them find their way, and they're all different denominations. But a lot of them don't commit to it every Sunday or Saturday, Friday.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. There's so much in that about, you know, there's this whole thing that goes on now where people just sort of buffet their way through and you pick a little of this, pick a little of that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's that, right? So, the spiritual materialism is just, I'm going to go shopping for God. But on the other hand, there's also I believe there's a lot of depth and really being present for people's ways of dealing with, mystery in life. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder though, with this, is there, what's the state of spirituality in hip hop?
What is what? Sorry, my
The
thing.
state of spirituality in hip hop, like where's it at? Is it, because I don't hear a lot. I hear a lot of social commentary and social justice, and certainly, there's pieces in there, but I don't, you know I mean, your mom loved Conway Twitty, right? So so Conway Twitty would be, a little more direct with his Christianity. But where in hip hop is there for you or for people you listen to? Is there anything that makes you think this is talking about the bigger things than just what's right in front of me?
Well, there's so many generations of hip hop now. It's hard to say. Like it's not. It's kind of hard to put one thing. Just like there's generations of other music. So it's not. I don't hear it in the kids. That's all I was saying. And for me, when I go for it more in reggae. And so the reggae music is more of my spiritual music that I go for. And I think the younger kids gravitate to reggae too, because there's a new generation of reggae. So it's hard to, I wouldn't even say new generation, just younger people in the genre coming up. So I think where kids feel safe, or the younger generation feels safer in a genre, in speaking of it, definitely is reggae and dancehall, because they refer back to reggae for this, but that will refer back to a lot of the quotations in reggae music in the dancehall. So yeah, I think that's, if there's a party going on and you're in the clubs and the clubs are playing ha ha ha, ha get it, what up, whatever, when they want to calm the party down, there goes that reggae song, right? And the reggae kind of not the dance hall, the dance hall gets into whatever, and dance hall makes you back up, that upbeat in terms of energy. And then when the reggae comes and plays, and then it's a different, the lighters go up or the cells, that's when, kind of so on. So I would say the genre just kind of changes, but it's the same ear, same consumer, same thing, and not necessarily in hip hop. Even when it's delivered in Christian hip hop and gospel hip hop, it's still not on it's not on the radar for the youth to start retweeting or quoting or TikToking to. So it's just it's reggae is where I get most of mine from. And as much as I can, because I write hip hop, it comes out in one liners. You can tell I listen to reggae. Even if I'm not doing the reggae stuff on the hip hop, you could tell I listen to reggae. You can almost tell what kind of reggae I listen to. And then you can tell when I'm popping a style and trying to give a cool factor, what I gravitated to in the dance hall to make you listen back, because you remember when that era was. So there's a lot of reference, whereas in Conway Twitty doesn't refer back, but just use them as an example, and country music doesn't refer back to another artist's stuff to trigger off a memory into a present moment. And that's done a lot in the hip hop, because I do think hip hop heads realize it's not there.
Yeah, all right, because that's that was my intuition about hip hop, but I don't know enough because to me it's more, there's, I don't know, there's something more like, I'm telling you, I'm not, it's not I don't feel the receiving part in hip hop the way I do in reggae. I don't feel the sort of two-way conversation. I'm being talked to, not, talked at, not, and there's tons to be said in there that's just like, wow, that's powerful, that's interesting, but it's not a two-way conversation. And reggae feels like a two-way conversation. Like if I'm not moving to it, it's not actually reggae at that point, right?
And the thing is too, when people try to listen to hip hop and get into say hip hop as a genre now, they gravitate, or they go to what's playing now. And I just think in the last 10 years, 20 years even, it's a total now different now. So as a mature person going into a new genre, I would recommend listening to mature rappers. And that's kind of why I'm in it, because because the infrastructure has just, it gravitates to the younger folks, right? And
Right.
there's anything, but there's still old school parties that are happening in every genre of music, in every festival, in every carnival. So it's just, I would just advise, like when you're older and you're getting into new genres, to listen to the older rappers, like how you played something. Like I don't, the artist that you played for me, I would think you're not giving me the newest artist, like the newest pop artist thing. I'm sure she seems older and soulful to be chanting. So I'm saying
Yeah.
how you would gravitate and reflect and show me that. I don't think as a young artist, it's the same thing. If I was referring you to a hip hop artist or reggae artist, I would send you to who just released and got the grant. You know what I mean? Because it's a whole different marketplace that they're
That's
approaching.
interesting because
Whereas there's a whole
there's
there's
a whole
elders
other,
in reggae and hip.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And
The woman I played for you, Batcha Levine, actually is young. She's
what?
not older. The woman I played for you, Batcha Levine, she's actually young. She's not older.
See, that's what I'm saying. And if I was playing a new artist for you, I may not play the newest artist, the youngest artist. And she's very into, like, it's in context of her, from what I'm hearing, and
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like she's aiming for that audience, right? Whereas in hip hop, they're not necessarily at that age. She's already chanting. That would be more reggae to me than it
yeah.
would be.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, so in terms of delivery and age factor and put it in context, so that's a perfect example of something new. And me sharing with you too, I would probably share a younger reggae artist with you, like Jan
Right,
Ryan. And
right.
instead of giving you all the talk down, talk at stuff, because there's a lot of that. That's all. That's for clarity. Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. Because like she wouldn't be she wasn't the top hip hop, blah, 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 blah. She was more like a top reggae artist coming in. And it
Yeah.
would use
So you had a birthday this month?
that 23rd birthday,
So, oh, just
twenty
a few days ago.
five.
So was it a significant birthday?
Sure was. It was the big 50. My son says only on Facebook. My
Oh.
mom's the only Facebook to say she's younger than me. And then Facebook made me fix it.
So the big five oh,
So yeah,
any birthday with a
big,
zero in it, any birthday with a zero in
big
it,
50.
yeah, that has an impact on me whenever hit one that has a
Made it.
zero. Made it.
When you what? Sorry, my internet. What'd you say, Rob?
So what does it mean to be 50?
Same thing it meant when I was 30. Same crap, just dealing with it different. Same thing. Oh yeah, pandemic. I mean, we've got a mass added my foot. Nothing like dropping an album in a pandemic. I don't know who or what divine intervention made this happen, but this was just, I just went with many flows. So yes, yeah, being 50 is kind of cool because it kind of earns you the right to say stuff. And then it might questions the elders. Well, it's not a young pioneer. I was like, I told you I lied about my age to get in the club. So it's kind of cool now when everyone's like, oh, 50. So it's like you're rewriting your worldwide resume. So I don't want anyone else to say she's 50 and that's how she would be. So I figured if you put out an album, Pop grown up, we made it. I'd love to see what Biggie and Pop said if they were alive at this age. It'd be so interesting. Yeah. And it'll show them kids that you can start chanting early
Yeah,
in hip hop.
yeah. So you just turned 50. Um, I'm older than you by a fair bit. What do you learn at 50? Like, how does life look at 50 that it couldn't have looked that way at 30? What happens now?
Wow. That's a stretch. I just got here. So I'm still in denial. Right? I just got here. I'm still in denial. I'm still trying to lie about my age the other way. I am just finding out that I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. And I could want more, but I'm very content, but I definitely want more. Like who doesn't? So you kind of look at like and it's not only the 50, it's the whole spiel of the pandemic. It's the whole like what do you do now? And mixed in with I'm 50 and then watching all the 50-year-olds turning 50, all of my schoolmates crying on Facebook, rah, 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 and being trapped in wherever they're trapped at 50. So if you're not where you want to be, you really feel restricted. You've got to feel like especially like this is in context of the pandemic, you've got to feel like, oh my God, you can't even use your imagination and imagine life's better for this one day because there's so many restrictions. So I made sure I flew to Jamaica and woke up on the beach, the cost-effective, empty, COVID tested beach, and just not to be here to use my imagination that there is light at the end of this tunnel. So I went for my vitamin D.
So
So
you
I am
said
still,
that,
and I talk to everyone over 50 on the beach from Idaho and Florida and Kentucky. And it was just interesting. And no one believed I was 50 in Canada. So we won down there in terms of Canadians. We're the youngest looking 50s on the island. And it just me think that it's okay. I'm finding my cruise control. No matter what happens, I'm okay. I'm okay. So it's kind of, yeah. I think the best way to say it is that I'm finding my cruise control. I'm finding what matters and what doesn't. And I'm finding what I could have did and didn't do and want to do and all that stuff. Everything that filters, I'm making up life's filters as I still go along. But I'm really invested in what the younger folks are doing too. I think that's a natural progression, and seeing how I can help, if that helps, as well as them, that gives me an extra comfort zone of being youthful again and doing what I love also. So yeah, I don't know, 50. I just got here.
yeah, but it's one of those times where people don't value getting older. Our society doesn't think. I often say nobody says you're old and improved. You're
Right.
always new and improved. So
Oh,
for a lot
started.
of people, they hesitate to get older. They don't really want it because they don't think it's well respected.
I know. That's why I started one of my songs with vintage mint condition. Like I never thought I would start a rap saying vintage mint condition. And that was a witty punchline. Like, oh, I even got some retweets when I tweeted that at some point. So interesting to see. Like, I'm rapping about vintage mint condition. Like, it's just the whole vocab, the whole, even in my writing, my process, it was just different things. How do you stay cool and you stay, you don't scare the kids too much, like whatever. And I made sure I said, ask your mother, me's your bad girl auntie. So I was telling the kids, you can ask mommy, I am auntie. So I figured on this album, what I did was kind of just tell the stories and being a mature mom, and made sure my raps made sense that I could say it to my son. Because if it didn't translate, like, I'm talking to you, right? In some moments, or, I know you're listening, then I knew. And that was a different perspective to write from. So yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah, 50 is pretty cool.
I love it. Well, listen, I want to thank you for being generous with me and taking some time. I really do appreciate it. And what's the name of the album so people can know what to look for?
It's Bad Gal's Revenge, and it's a play off of Roxanne Shante, who's my favorite female rapper, and she used to have Roxanne's Revenge. So I'm trying to tell all the kids to go back. Is she biting or going back to Roxanne? Who's Roxanne? And all the old school people are supposed to say, "Yeah, that makes sense. Get him, Mish," because I'm Michie Mee. So it's Bad Gal's Revenge. Look out for it. It has a bit of rap, rock, and reggae, and it's very Canadian, but yet international. So it should make sense everywhere,
Yeah, so is it on all
every
the
platform.
streaming services and all that?
Yes, so it's digitally on all the streaming services, and it will be in CD and vinyl in the new year. I'm not too sure how I'll get them to everyone, but I will get the vinyl out service quicker than the CD. There's no shows.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Well, I really hope that that we're not that far away. Maybe the spring for early summer, and people can get back to being together, which is really important.
absolutely. Ralph, nice seeing you.
Yeah, you too. Take care of yourself, all right?
The only good thing about Zoom, I get all your attention to myself. I'm not mad at the Zoom. I was like, you ever try to talk to Ralph? Fine, when he's in work mode? No, I barely remember that interaction. You're totally in the zone. And I admire that. So yeah, I got you to myself. Yay. So nice chatting with you.
You too. Michie Mee, Bad Gal's Revenge is the name of her album, and she has a whole discography of all kinds of music over the last 20 years that is just fantastic. I'm Ralph Benmergui. This is Not That Kind of Rabbi. Check out the Facebook page if you want to say hi. Not That Kind of Rabbi is the name of the Facebook page. And drop me a line. Tell me what you think. Tell me people you'd like to hear from. And in the meantime, take care of each other. We're heading into some contraction as we get into colder weather and figure things out together. But let's be kind to each other. I'm noticing a bit of the edge coming back, and I don't blame anybody because it's months and months and months of not being what we usually are with each other and avoiding people instead of being with them. I get it, but maybe it's a good time to take in a bit of that, what Christmas is supposed to be about and what the festivals of light and all the cultures are supposed to be about, and do a little loving towards each other. And I had a nasty interaction with somebody in a supermarket recently who wasn't wearing a mask, and we ended up in this horrible thing. And I just felt horrible about it. And I just thought, I could have been nicer. And then I realized how stressed it is to be around people and how strange it is to be stressed that you're just around people. So be cool and look inside for the nicer and sweeter part of yourself and try to dole it out whenever you can to yourself and to other people. Take care of each other. We'll talk soon.
This podcast has been produced by TMDS and accelerated by Roam Phone. Roam Phone brings you the most reliable virtual phone service to run your business and protect your home number from unwanted calls. Visit roamphone.ca to get started.